Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast edition of Rosen Sports Monday. Mark Rosen here on this very special Monday. We've been waiting a long time. They always say, waiting for Sunday night. We've been waiting for Monday night for us since the schedule came out, the Vikings schedule came out. And I'm thrilled to have as my guest today the one and only Pete Bercich, of course, longtime radio analyst for KFAN and the Vikings radio network, and longtime player, assistant coach, done it all. Pete Bercich, and also did me the honor of sitting next to me many a Sunday night on Rosen Sports Sunday back in the day when I used to call him, Pete, and I used to call you and say, God dang it, we're on 45 minutes late. I'm so sorry because CBS ran late tonight and they're not going to boot a show, and you still came in without a frown on your face. Those were the days.
You gave me a chance. You gave me, I remember when we first started doing that, when we had the suits on and the whole thing.
Oh my God.
That was, I owe you a thank you because you gave me my first opportunity to do TV on a regular basis. And it's all kind of,
you're damn good at it.
Think about how the media has changed since that time. It's everywhere.
It's
on every phone, every minute you can get, and that's part of the thing with the wait to get to this game.
I know
you can consume pregame content for weeks now. And
more than that.
The volume of pregame content now it's bottomless, and you could just feed it and feed it and feed it. It just doesn't go away. And so the build up it's as big as it can get anymore. And the only thing left to do is play it. And you can know every single stat, every as much as you want is out there. Let's just put it that way.
Well, Pete, the anticipation for this game, and again, this is kind of a twofold conversation. For those of you listening before the kickoff tonight, thank you. For those listening afterwards, we do want to talk about a lot of other things with Pete Bercich, about his career, et cetera, radio business. But the anticipation, Pete, for this game tonight is off the charts. One that I've been covering this team forever. I can't remember the anticipation, maybe the 98 season, because they had this guy named Randy Moss, who was a rookie, but he was a wide receiver, didn't have the ball in his hands all the time. The J.J. McCarthy phenomenon is there. He won a national championship. Every football fan in America knows who he is. But it's certainly a lot more than that. But let's not bury the lead here. It's really about this kid and how he's going to handle the national spotlight tonight.
100%, Rosie. And it's anytime you draft a quarterback, the hopes and dreams of an organization get pinned upon him. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And it kind of adds to fuel to the fire is Kevin O'Connell, who every quarterback who's come through here, and I think we've rolled out 6 different quarterbacks or 7 different quarterbacks in the last 6 seasons for starters. But
amazing.
We've gone through a number of them, but all of them have played well under Kevin O'Connell. Kirk Cousins played well. Jaron Hall, the time that he was in there, did well. Sam Darnold. And so the hope is there. And for a young quarterback, this is absolutely the franchise that you want to be involved in, because you're going to have that kind of coaching. You're going to be in a quarterback-heavy offense. So that just adds fuel to the fire. And then you look at the old saying that Belichick had, where talent sets the floor and character sets the ceiling. Well, I've gotten to know JJ probably more than normal. Being we're kind of from the same hometown, and
right.
His dad and I were on the same Chicago Sun-Times all-area football team in 1989.
Wow,
so
are you kidding? Interesting.
His dad sent me a picture of the article, all yellowed. It's 30 some years old or whatever. So I met his dad before. I obviously don't remember from the banquet, but
that's funny.
So some ties are there that allow for more conversation, but just a great family, great kid. He's just different, right? He's just different. And you know it as soon as you talk to him, different in a good way. And hopefully we all have our fingers crossed that will translate into I don't know what we saw a little bit of if you were watching Sunday Night Football between Baltimore,
Oh yeah, sure was.
and Buffalo with Lamar Jackson and just that's what we Viking fans have in the back of our minds. It's going to take some time to get there, regardless of how good this kid is. So, and it's going to be up and down. That's just how it is. So, just be excited, but we just have to keep that in check.
Are you a believer in that the success that J.J. McCarthy's had almost from the get-go, from high school, obviously winning the national championship at Michigan, and the carryover now to the NFL, even though he had to sit out a year, that does have some meaning? And the number two part of that question is, did sitting out last year and absorbing KOC's offense and being involved in the meetings and pretty much everything except being able to practice have an effect on him that he really isn't truly a true rookie this year?
Yes, I do agree with that 100%. I mean, he knows it's a language, so he knows the language. I mean, you think about for a rookie, think about their final season in college, right? They spend the summer getting ready. They go out in the fall. They play their college games. As soon as that season's over, they might have a senior bowl or some other type of, and then they're going into training, and then they train for the pro days, and then they train for the workouts, and then they do all these interviews, and then they go through the draft. And as soon as the draft happens, and this is a trap for rookies these days, is that they think the draft is the destination. Well, the draft is just the beginning, because the day after the draft, you're on your way to a facility, you meet everybody, and then they drop a playbook on your lap that's 1,000 pages thick, and the work is just getting started. So that rookie year just never ends. It's about a year and a half of nonstop football. And so he's had a little bit of a break from that, some time to learn everything that's going on, sit through the meetings. So that's definitely going to be an advantage. And that's a kind of an interesting part tonight between he and Caleb Williams, where Caleb Williams went out and got the experience, but in a different system. But he also was sacked 68 times last year. So the question is he scarred from that? Because that's a thing. And you've heard the Manning brothers talking about it and about their rookie year, when you go out there and you do not experience success, that hangs with you, and it's hard. That might even be harder to overcome than not being on the field at all. And I think that's a pretty relevant story, and an interesting one. And then it's one of the things that I'm definitely fascinated to see how this whole thing turns out.
Well, as you do the broadcast tonight with the one and only Paul Allen, what things are you looking for from JJ to beyond the obvious stats to constitute this as a successful debut for him?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me, what am I looking from Paul? I'm just looking for Paul to be loud, obnoxious, and out of control.
Well, that's a whole other half-hour show.
I think tonight's going to be interesting, because this fan base in Chicago with Ben Johnson, they're fired up. This is as fired up as the Bears have been in a long time. So there actually might be some crowd noise issues. Soldier Field, 60. It's the smallest stadium in the league, but it's really compact. You've been there.
Oh, yeah.
And so it can get loud. Is he going to be able to handle all of that? Is he going to be able to manage the team, meaning get the right guys in the huddle, get the plays off on time, manage the snap count? These are all simple, these are all rather simple things. And then the ability to make adjustments, because they also have a new defensive coordinator in Dennis Allen. And so you kind of have an idea what he likes to do, but you don't know. You don't have 3 weeks of film. So, and you also have Justin Jefferson, and he changes things week to week anyway. And that might be the sneaky advantage there, that Kevin O'Connell has built game plans with flexibility in them, because you don't know what you're going to see week in and week out, because everyone does. It's the same thing that Brian Billick said to me years ago about Randy Moss, saying the watching film is pointless because the coverages we scout we don't see because of Randy.
Right.
It's a real thing, and there's only a handful of guys in football that can do that, and Justin Jefferson is one of those guys. So his ability to handle all those things, and all at once and throughout the course of a game, that's the part that I'll be watching closely tonight.
We saw the Detroit Lions, who've run roughshod over the NFC North in particular the last 2 years, just look like crap yesterday. I'll be no other word I can come up with. Against the Packers, they didn't look like anything like the same team. And I've been talking to our friend, the Common Man, about it, saying I think the window's closing for Detroit. They have obviously losing the coordinators, including Ben Johnson. A big loss in their offensive line. It's not to suggest they're not going to win games this year. Of course they are. But the polar opposite of that is the Vikings, after getting thrashed in the playoff game by the Rams last year, totally revamped their offensive line. How much of a security blanket is that? And does KOC running the ball a lot tonight for J.J. McCarthy with Aaron Jones and now Jordan Mason in the backfield to kind of take maybe some of the pressure, and instead of having second and long, maybe 2nd and 4, and putting them in really advantageous situations on the field?
Yeah, and that's the two best friends that a young quarterback has are a good defense and a really good running game, right? And so what you don't want is a young quarterback to be out there putting him on the field down 2 scores and having to play catch up offense, meaning getting the ball vertically down the field. The other part of that is a good running game, and not just you can just hand the ball off all day long, but your third downs are going to be manageable. You're going to get a lot more 3rd and 5 or less. You're not going to be on the field a lot when it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, because that's when defenses, just like ours, can substitute personnel, and you get all the funky looks, and you get you get all those things. So try to keep him out of those situations. That's where the running game, comes into play. And I'm very curious about that as well, because Aaron Jones has done a wonderful job. He had a career high in passing attempts and yards last year. But Jordan Mason might be the sneaky guy tonight that becomes very, very valuable. Not that he's going to break 50, 60-yard touchdown runs, but he's so good after contact, so tough to tackle. Started out the season last year for the 49ers on fire, so he knows how to start a season. He could be that guy tonight that really propels this offense and allows the play action pass and the bootlegs and some of the shorter passing game to be able to move the chains instead of having to do the 7-step. You're still going to get the ball to JJ, but that running game will help, I think, kind of flatten everything out and not put the offense behind the 8 ball.
Again, we're talking with longtime Viking radio analyst Pete Bercich, continuing our conversation. I mentioned the Lions and their dreadful performance in Green Bay against the Packers yesterday. Is it alarming? Because is it an overreaction Monday to say, it's one game. Green Bay was feeling its oats. They had Micah Parsons in the lineup. They're ready to roll. They're playing in Lambeau, and the Lions were kind of due. But it was almost a repeat of what happened when they played Washington last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Rosie, is I hope if listeners take anything away from this, is that the difference between being a great team and being a 15-win team and being a 9-8 team or 8-9 team isn't much. It's not a lot. Because this league is so absolutely competitive. So, when you say you lost 2 coordinators, that matters. It matters a ton in a lot of different ways. And just that little bit of difference can affect the team. And I think you saw that with the Lions. Just that offensive line just isn't, you're not getting 4 or 5 yards every time you hand the football off. And then because the running game isn't so prevalent, or just a little bit less prevalent, then all of a sudden the play action passing game isn't as tough as it used to be and as effective as it used to be. And, it was such a timing offense. And that's Ben Johnson. It's the timing of that offense that matters. That's why they get yards after the catch, because the ball gets to the right spot on time. That's once that is off. Oh my God, it can really, really affect an offense. And that's exactly what what you saw with the Lions and the Packers. So they're going to have a long way to go. I mean, the Lions, and here's the other thing too, Rosie, when you go through a 15-win season and you look at the Lions the last couple of years, they've won quite a bit. They're not used to losing.
No.
And let me tell you something, the season is not fun when you're not winning all the time. And so they're going to have to battle that as well. Right. They're going to have to battle that uphill, that, all this work is worth it. Right. All these, all the hitting in practice and all this work is definitely worth it when you're winning. But when you're losing, it's a totally different mentality.
Well, Dan Campbell may have his work cut out for him. They play the Bears, I think, in Detroit next Sunday. We're going to continue our conversation with Pete Bercich in just a minute. Lots more to talk with him about, but we're going to hear from our friends right now from Lexus of Maplewood and Lexus of Wayzata. Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
All right, back with Viking radio analyst Pete Bercich in Chicago for the Vikings game against the Bears tonight. But I want to talk to Pete about a lot more about his life, his career, because you started out, at least from our perspective, a 7th-round draft pick with the Vikings, which is, I don't think they have 7 rounds anymore, do they? But, I mean...
Oh, they still do.
They do. Okay, that's right. They're barely, but... man, it must seem like a lifetime ago, but you also spent 5 years as the defensive coach with the Vikings as well. And man, a lot of great memories from being a rookie on this team and playing with the likes of, Randy Moss and Robert Smith and so many great people on defense and offense, and your coaching staff with Denny Green and Mike Tyson. I don't even know how do you manage to kind of analyze your career both as a player and as a coach, and here you are today, still very involved with the franchise.
Yeah, I guess that's the part of my journey that's probably most remarkable. Is this will be my 30th season in the NFL in one capacity or another, and I've done it all with one team.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual.
And so. Well, yeah, it's kind of. I think the one lesson I learned in throughout this whole thing is not burning bridges, right?
Mm-hmm. Very good point.
As much as I did not enjoy in 2000 when I was released, I didn't march out of the facility and say, screw you guys and, whatever. And I had known Denny since I was 18. Denny recruited me when he was at Stanford. I visited Stanford. I was accepted to Stanford, but it was just too far away. Back then, Chicago to California was like, it was like going to Europe. I mean, it was a completely different world. And
so you had to struggle through that other academic institution, Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was going to go somewhere where I could get a degree in case football never worked out. And so I had my backup plan in place, I guess. Right. But when I did get cut, I just remember I went and saw all the coaches and thanked them for the opportunity and tried to leave on a high note, as much as pissed off and as I got cut on a Monday, the Monday of game week. And if I make the opening day roster, I'm guaranteed my salary and blah, blah, blah. So despite the disappointment, I left and said thank you to everybody, and then they brought me back a few weeks later. So, and then at the end of 2000 season, I was done. I had the ACL and I had a real bad concussion on the NFC Championship game that year. But then Denny put it in my ear to come back and coach. So, I tried to do that. Nothing worked in 2001. Then Tice in 2002 knew, because he was an assistant coach, I wanted to. So he brought me in 2002. And then you go through the Tice era, which of course we all got fired at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And again, had I left in a way with Brzezinski and ownership and Lester Bagley and that group
Right.
in 2007, they never would have had me come back and start doing the radio. So that's the lesson I think I learned, Rosie.
Yeah. That's a good lesson for a lot of people.
Is just don't burn any bridges.
No,
because you just never know.
Did you ever imagine yourself? Obviously, the length of service in the booth speaks for itself. But getting into the business, is that something? Maybe because you understand the analytics of football, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I never thought. The hard part is with football is you're either in it or you're not. Right. If for some reason I were to stop doing the radio and things, I wouldn't watch it on the weekends. I would have to cut myself off completely from it because it's either you're 100% in or you're 100% out. So just being involved in your role in it. I mean, coaching is meant more to me and helps me more doing my job in the booth as on the radio than playing did. Playing is, this is how it feels to be on the field on Monday night. This is what it feels like to do this and that. But to know what's going on the field, that requires so much more. I was a smart player. I could play multiple positions as a backup, get put in and not ruin everything, not screw everything up. That's why I played as long as I did. That was the value that I brought. I didn't realize how much I did not know about the game until I started coaching, when you had to know exactly what all the D linemen do. You had to know exactly what all the DBs did. And my coaching in high school helped solidify so much of that, because you have to look at the entire program and the entire offense and the entire defense. Being forced to do that when I got in the booth to do the radio made it such a smooth transition. I never thought I would be doing the games on the radio, but when it did happen, all I had to do was find a way to communicate what I see, because I learned all that while in a booth as a coach.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because radio obviously is a theater of the mind. The NFL, it's such a visual medium. We all understand that, and yet your job in the booth after PA makes the play-by-play calls is to kind of tell the listeners what just happened. And yet it can be a very complicated situation, because most fans, and I'm included, I've been doing this business forever. I mean, Tampa 2, and this is what they did with whatever it might be. I mean, it's not like watching baseball and the outfielder missed the cutoff man, and you just tell people that, and it's all for everybody to see and hear. Football's much different. So when you're analyzing a game, are you just following the ball? How do you follow up and decide what to say? I've always marveled at that in a very short period of time.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, because I do sometimes check myself as to what exactly it is that I'm looking at, or what I'm watching. And I think it changes throughout the course of a game. In certain situations, I'm going to watch more of the defensive front or where the safeties are. By person, there's certain it kind of varies throughout. It kind of varies throughout the game. I think, Rosie, to your point, when you're a coach, what you're doing is you're simplifying a game that looks complex. On many levels, it's very simple. But think of it this way: what your player knows is how would I say it? It's all that matters is what that guy can take out into the field. So you have to simplify it, right? You can't overload a guy, because once he gets hit in the head and he's running around, you can't remember everything. So you have to paint the picture or teach the game in a very, very simple way. Ifs and thens and rules. That's that's kind of the way that you have to do it. So the ability to look at something that's very complex or appears to be complex and then deliver it in a simple manner, I mean, that's coaching.
Right.
And again, that's how coaching, I think, has helped me do what I do in the booth.
How do you feel about criticizing a particular player or something that happens on the field? If you see something that, it's obvious error by a defensive back, a linebacker, whomever that just got, or whatever got beat, do you hesitate at all about that, or has that always been easy for you to do?
No, I look at it and say, if the guy was sitting next to me and I was in a meeting room, how would I, maybe with less colorful language, but you know what I mean? Kind of how you would say it. And there's such a tendency now, and this is what bothers me when you listen to a lot of media, is it's so hyperbolic. It's so, this guy can't do this, this guy can do that, and this guy's the greatest, and this other guy here. In the reality of it is, it's always somewhere in between. It's about knowing what a player needs to do to get better. So one specific player needs to be able to use his hands better or work on his movement or be better at holding the point on a double team, for example, with a defensive lineman. And so if you see a guy get driven off the ball, it's the same kind of message, but it's different. Instead of saying, my God, he's just getting killed at the line of scrimmage, you could say it that way. Or you could say, well, so-and-so needs to hold the point better against the double team. Not easy to do, but we have to get better at that. Just hold it long enough for the linebacker to pull off one of the two defensive linemen or offensive linemen. That I would tell a guy to his face, because we ride with these guys on the plane, right? Yeah. You may actually sit down and interview somebody. So so there's always that filter in your mind. And, so the team isn't above criticism. Players are not above criticism. It's just a matter of doing it the right way and more of in a realistic, and I call it an honest way, but it's reality.
Yeah.
Right. The kid so-and-so might be a great player, but he needs to do one or two things. It's just like with Teddy Bridgewater. And I said it many times, for Teddy to get to the next level, he needed to be able to throw the ball outside to the sidelines, deep comebacks, work on the fade routes, the deep ball. Those are the plays that he needs to improve at. It's not, you don't sit there and go, yeah, he'll never do it. Right. Or you don't say, yeah, he'll never be great. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not reality. The reality is he has to improve at A, B, and C. So it's just a different way of expressing. It's not a lazy way. The lazy way is to say, yeah, that guy sucks, he's never going to make it.
Right. Well, the other end of the spectrum is, I listen plenty of times, and you get, and rightfully so, very excited when something good happens for the Vikings. But I will say that even after all these years of working with you, both on TV and then seeing you in the radio booth when I come in and do my little bit at the end of the game, you seem to have a very even keel approach once the game is over. It's almost like your player or / coaching persona takes over, because people get excited. I mean, U.S. Bank is going crazy, but Pete Bercich to me stays pretty calm when I see you after the game. Almost, I would never know if the Vikings won or lost, honestly, when I say hello to you at the end of the game.
Yeah. Well, part of it's after having been through, I think I'm over 500 games that I've seen.
Yeah.
Right. And experienced in one way or another. Because again, nothing's I'll steal something from Lou Holtz, and I don't like doing that, but I will. But he used to say, nothing's ever as good as it seems, nothing is ever bad as it seems, and somewhere in between reality lies. And that's, that is so important. I mean, and the other part is, I love getting excited about things that are different things, like Miles Price, for example. When we played New England, Miles Price made a tackle on a big. It was a longer kickoff return that the Patriots had, but Miles Price was a contained guy on the Vikings sideline. He was right on the bench. He contained the play there, and then outran everybody else on the field, at least 60 yards to the opposite side of the field, and made a tackle on the Patriots sideline.
Yeah, that gets noticed.
Those are the things that I love bringing out, because normally people don't notice that or see it. They just see a big return. And it's the preseason, and I'm going, that Miles Price kid, if he's going to work like that, and he's going to work like that every day, and there's a guy that's his improvement, all right, the hope for him to improve is there, because he's going to put the work in. But yeah, Rosie, it was worse. It was way worse back in the day when I had one kid playing high school. I was coaching at another high school.
Hill Murray.
My oldest was with the Gophers at the time.
Oh my!
And then I had the Vikings game. So you have 4 football games on a weekend, and you never won all of them.
Right.
Right. You never win all of them. So you got a win here, a loss there, a win here, and you just. You have to be able to handle losses. And I guess going back to J.J. McCarthy, he hasn't done a lot of losing in his career. I think he's only lost like 3 football games his entire high school and college career.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, you're going to lose a little bit more often than that. So you're going to have to figure out a way to deal with it.
Well, as we wrap up this conversation, Pete Bercich, thanks for spending some time with us today. People walk around town with these T-shirts that say "Before I Die" or whatever it might be, and we know what it's about. And I've lived longer than you have, a lot longer, and I remember some of the other crushing. I actually was alive to see the Super Bowl losses, and it's been many generations, but. How difficult? I mean, is this team capable? I mean, that's such a dumb question. Is this team capable of? People always.
Well, how about this, Mark? How about this? You talk about what's different.
Yeah.
And I was honest to God, I was working in the yard one day, and I'm listening to this guy on YouTube just go through. It was a video about the winningest teams in sports, in different sports, that never won the title, and there was a 40-minute bit on the Vikings. And you go back to Fran Tarkington and Joe Kapp and how the Vikings were so good, but then there was a contract issue with Fran, and then he left. And then you had Joe Kapp, and then you had contract issues with him, and he left. And all this time you have this great defense, and you just couldn't quite figure things out on offense. Then you had some bad luck here and there. 98 injuries kind of crept in, I think, toward the end of that game. That was a big part of that. But I start at the top, and ownership is committed to bringing a winner. I don't think there's a question that any fan would have. I mean, I remember as a coach getting a list of free agents, and the top guys would be crossed out in red because we just weren't going to pay them.
Interesting.
Okay, and this is under Red McCombs, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But that's how it used to be. But it used to be that way in a lot of places. Minnesota was not unique in that regard. It was a different league back then. But the support that ownership gives this franchise now, that if you want somebody, they find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
That's the first piece of evidence that tells me that this franchise will ultimately win that game. Kevin O'Connell, the coaching staff. I mean, Brian Flores, you have guys that are experienced and have been there, and you see this team improving year, and it's just a matter of time. And so I think the bigger pieces are all in place for that. Now you got to have some luck. You've got to stay healthy. There's a lot of things beyond all of that have to happen, but this franchise, I think, is fundamentally changed in that regard. And so it gives me much more hope. And then you throw in the new quarterback. That's why the hope thing right now is just sailing so high. And you gotta be careful of all that. But for those reasons, and the first thing I point to is ownership and the difference. I mean, for God's sakes, I interviewed Chris Carter and John Randall not too long ago. In the early 90s, they had a food truck.
Oh, I remember it. At Winter Park.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
So at lunchtime, these guys, like construction workers, took off their helmets and went over to the food truck
had their little,
to get lunch.
All their bologna sandwiches, and that was it. I went, wait, these guys are highly paid. I'm going, they're eating the lunch I'm eating.
Exactly right.
I do remember that truck.
Yeah, not like that anymore, is it? So my point is just this: the franchise is a leader in taking care of these players, providing them what they need. You don't want to spoil them. I get that, but it's a different world now. And they're doing everything that's possible on that end. And I think the result and the fruits of that investment are just, somewhere in the future. So there's a reason to, when you say before I die,
Right.
to be hopeful that it's going to happen. And I have that hope as well. I mean, I want to hang on and be part of this organization because I do believe that great things are just around the corner. And, we'll just, that's what faith gets you. Right.
Well,
and I'd rather live my life with hope and with faith than to say it's not going to happen. This isn't going to, the grumpy side. It's a choice that you make with everything.
Well, I really want it to happen this year because my wife will get a Super Bowl ring if that's the case. So, that's as close as I'll ever come to seeing one person.
Yeah, I'm just saying you could. I'm sure you can get a Legacy Media Super Bowl ring. I'm sure they'll find. I mean, knowing the Will family, if they win a Super Bowl, everybody in Minneapolis might get one.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's like that would be such a huge deal.
It all starts tonight. The Vikings and the Bears in Chicago, Soldier Field. Pete Bercich, thank you so much. As always, you're a good friend. And have fun tonight with PA tickling you in the sides before kickoff. And enjoy. You guys make up one of the best broadcast teams in the NFL, no doubt about it.
Well, thank you, Rosie. We have fun. And hopefully that translates. And remember, this is just one of 17, guys, right? This is one of 17.
Take it all in.
If we win, great. Now we got a short week to try to beat the Falcons. If we lose,
hey,
great. We got a short week to beat the Falcons, so it doesn't matter. You got to beat the Falcons next week. And
you got Dublin.
That's just the mentality.
You got Dublin and London coming up too down the road, so not too far.
Oh, I know. It's gonna be fun.
It'll be
great. I mean, honestly, you get to go to Ireland to watch a football game. I mean, seriously, how good is life right now?
Not bad. Pete Bercich, thanks so much. Have fun tonight.
Thank you, Rosie. Take care.
Thanks for listening, everyone.